So welcome to the Defiant Spirit. In this overview video, I just want to walk you through the 9 Enneagram types as they relate to leadership. You can get a longer podcast where I go through each type a little more methodically, though, only so much you can do in a half hour, 40 minutes. And then you can always jump over to my Own Your Number program where you can go deep into each type. But this is the Enneagram through the lens of leadership. I use this in counseling, executive coaching, in bringing it to businesses. The Enneagram is just amazing in the workplace, but you don't have to just think of it as business. You can think of it as leadership in your kids' softball team, on your friends group, at home. We're all leaders at different times. Enneagram 1, I call this the principled leader, the reformer, the perfectionist, but they really lead with principles. They know who they are. By the time they get to true leadership, it takes them a long time to figure it out maybe, but they hold true to those principles. They're very conservative with a small c, meaning they don't change lightly. They conserve rather than change. They hold tight to what they believe. They're all about diligence. They're all about the details. I think of a Mandela. I think of a Gandhi. I think of Martha Stewart as an example of that. That doesn't mean they're perfect. She went to jail, but she came out. She did her time. She got back to who she was, and she's rebuilt her empire. Most of the Supreme Court, all Enneagram 1s, the principled leader. Enneagram 2, the supportive leader. Now, this is one of the least stereotypical leaders. We don't think of 2s tending to be leaders, but they are. They're some of the most powerful. They just tend to be the power behind the throne. Think of almost all the first ladies, and maybe the soon-to-be first man. They're all 2s, or most of them are 2s, because they play the supporting role, but oftentimes they're the power behind the throne. These are people who are relationship-oriented. I know many 2s who are in leadership positions in business. They tend to be a particular subtype, but not only. And they're all about people. They're all about connection. And that doesn't get lost in translation. They don't run their companies the same way an Enneagram 1 or an 8 or a 3 would. Enneagram 3, the achiever, but in the leadership program called Lead 360, the motivated leader. These are stereotypical leaders. Think of almost of every professional athlete, and you got your motivated leader. Think of Jeff Bezos in the business world, and Michael Bloomberg, and Oprah. I talk about a great leader. She went from sort of this, crass, but talk show host back in the 80s. I watched episodes of it, kind of garbage, to Super Soul Sunday, to leading all kinds of world transformation initiatives. So they can go from just, about the bottom line or image to world-changing agents. These are people who are on their way to the top. Enneagram 4, another one that's not your stereotypical leader, the individualist or romantic. I call this the expressive leader. They just run on emotion. They have deep feelings. They need to express themselves, and that'll translate to their work, to their vocation, whatever it might be. Now, they tend not to be CEOs. They tend not towards corporate America. They can be there. Oftentimes, they're creatives. But whatever they do, they treat the world or their profession like a canvas, and they're artistic. That's why they're also called the artist, regardless of what they do for a living. Enneagram 5, the investigator, the thinker, the observer. I call this the strategic leader. This is the Warren Buffett. This is the Bill Gates. This is the Mark Zuckerberg. These are people who understand data, who understand direction, who understand how to analyze. Think of an Elon Musk. Sometimes I think he's a 1, but a 5. Really just mastery in multiple areas, right? The guy's just smart. 5s are smart, so they know how to lead strategically. Enneagram 6, the loyalist, the loyal skeptic. These are the harder ones, some harder ones to kind of pinpoint. I was thinking about this. I think RFKJ is a 6, and I think his old man was 6 too, the RFK Sr. I think both of the Bushes are 6s. A Malcolm X is a 6. There's a fire to them. There's a doubt. There's a poking holes kind of quality. Certainly RFKJ, poking holes in the medical system, the health system, and other things. And so, you like them or not, they're challengers like 8s, but they're much more from a place of doubt, skepticism. And we need them on our team because they will hold us accountable and they'll keep us honest. Enneagram 7, the enthusiast, I call them the optimistic leader. Now, this one is an obvious leadership type. They're charismatic, probably the most charismatic type, maybe the 3s and the 7s. But theirs is much more of a come with me, let's have some fun, let's go out and experience the world, let's have a good time doing it. So think of Magic Johnson pops into my head. He's one. Or what's his name? The Virgin Airlines, Sir Richard Branson, like 150 companies, right? They're great at starting companies. They're not always great at scaling up companies, but they know how to get the ball rolling. Enneagram 8's another stereotypical leadership type, though they tend to be more of like the corporate America sort of power leader, power broker of the 80s. Not always gentle, probably get into some trouble with the HR department, stepping on toes. But these are leaders that get the job done. You want them in your corner when the chips are down. They just need how to harness their intensity. They're the fiery type, but if they want to harness that energy, they can become the impactful leader, and they can make a big impact. Think of Winston Churchill, think of Steve Jobs, think of General Patton, think of John McCain. Enneagram 9, these are unexpected leaders, probably the most powerful types. Think of a Obama and Lincoln and Reagan, right? These are powerful figures. Maybe Princess Di, I'm not 100% sure. Here's one, you don't think of a leader, but he's probably more responsible for changing children's lives than most everybody else I named. Fred Rogers, right? I just watched a documentary on him and he just made such an impact in his quiet, understated way. These are understated, powerful figures. Don't underestimate them. They can dig deep. They can become entrenched. They can become immovable objects. But I call them the diplomatic leader because they really know how to navigate much easier than the 8s or the 1s. And so that's the 9 types as seen through a very quick lens of leadership. The podcast will take you deeper and the program will take you deeper yet. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, defy your number, live your spirit, and check out Own Your Number, a program that will help you go deeper into all of this Enneagram and live it out in your life.